No, your employer cannot force you to resign. A resignation is a voluntary separation from employment. So if you're forced to resign, that's not voluntary, that's just a termination. What if my employer is the government? Shouldn't make a difference. Then why did Elon Musk just tweet this? Consistent with President Trump's instructions, all federal employees will shortly receive an email requesting to understand what they got done last week. Failure to respond will be taken as a resignation. Sure enough, later that Saturday afternoon, an email went out to federal employees asking them to submit 5 bullet points explaining what they did that past week. And here's the kicker. Federal employees that received the email had to respond by 11:59 p.m. on Monday. So that means that federal employees were given one total business day to explain what they did the prior week. Otherwise, the president and his main patriot, Elon Musk, were going to accept the non-response as a resignation. And like I said earlier, forced resignations are not allowed, not even by the federal government. So what does this all mean? Well, if you're the government employee that's going to be tasked with reviewing all of these emails, you may want to consider voluntarily resigning. Or perhaps you could argue that there's a constructive discharge element because the work that you're going to be doing is so abusive. But for others in the federal government, a resignation versus a termination actually makes a difference. First, people who resign voluntarily are not entitled to unemployment insurance. If you are forced to resign, that's not the same thing as a voluntary separation from employment. So remember, if you are forced to resign, that might be equal to a termination, in which case you should apply for unemployment. Second, many government employees have higher level of job protection, meaning they can only be fired for cause and have due process rights such as hearings if they are terminated and they disagree with the reason for their firing. These due process rights may be interfering a little bit with President Trump's stated intention to reduce the size of government, because just firing as many people as you possibly can is not really as easy as getting individuals to resign. Less paperwork. If you're an individual that's forced to voluntarily resign, you should definitely consult with a lawyer to ensure that your due process rights are preserved.